Hi there, welcome to a little bit of exercise therapy for your shoulders. There's not a lot of yoga or what you'd think of as yoga in this program. It's very much about limbering, moving, a little bit of strength building and just generally improving the function of your shoulders. So we're going to need a couple of blocks. Now I've got yoga blocks, but you don't have to have these in particular, just anything roughly that height. So a couple of stacks of books works absolutely fine, and we're going to have those just out to the side and come back and use them on and off throughout the program. So we're going to start over in cat on all fours. So knees under your hips, wrists under your shoulders like we normally would, and we're going to focus on the movement at the back of your shoulders in around the shoulder blades. So see if you can just very carefully push your upper back up towards the ceiling, and you'll feel your shoulders round forward, and then come back and let that relax. And again, shoulders rounding forward, upper back pushing up and relaxing, and just keep repeating that movement. So this is a little bit different to the normal cat warm-up and loosening up that we would do. It's not about movement through the spine, it's about movement through your shoulders. And what we're doing as we're pushing into the floor and rounding those shoulders forward, we're protracting the shoulder blades and then retracting them as we relax back down. So the shoulders on your back, or the shoulder blades on your back, are actually rotating out around the side of your ribs, or moving on your back as you go. So a few more of those. Focusing on your shoulders and how the blades are moving on the backs of your ribs behind. And letting that movement relax. And then grab your blocks or your stacks of books or anything at all that you've found that'll give you just a little bit more height up off the floor, and bring those in underneath your hands, resting your hands on top. You start with your shoulders directly over your wrists, knees hip width apart again, and you can just step the knees back an inch or two if you like. We're going to nice and smoothly take your bottom back to your heels and let your head relax towards the floor, and then come all the way back up over your wrists again, and just keep that going. This is just starting to introduce a little bit of movement and a little bit of weight bearing movement through those shoulder joints. It's very much about just starting to warm up and loosen up, so make it feel nice. Very good. A few more like that. And then relaxing. And then we're just going to pop those blocks away out to the side and do another little sliding movement with the hands and shoulders. So we're going to have one hand, or your left hand, underneath your shoulder. You're going to let your right hand slide forward, and at the same time bend the knees so your bottom comes back towards your heels, and then come back up to where you started. And just keep repeating that, sliding that hand out, coming back up. So we're doing two things, or two different things for each of your shoulders here. One's getting a little bit of a stretch and a flexion at the shoulder joint. The other one is doing, the other arm is doing a little bit of a mini push-up. But again, there's a fair bit of weight through your legs, so your arms and shoulders aren't doing all of the work. And then changing hands. So it's the left hand sliding away, bit of a stretch. Right hand does a little bit of a push up to bring you up again. Keep that going. Now while you're doing any of these exercises, and I know some of you are carrying a shoulder injury or two, if anything starts to irritate or bother your shoulders, don't push through the pain. You can adjust it, you can go halfway with a few things, but pushing through the pain of your shoulder is not going to provide any benefit whatsoever. So work within that comfortable range. So relaxing now, have a little sit back off the shoulders, give them a wriggle and a roll around. And then we're going to come back onto all fours. And again, knees under the chest, under the hips, wrists under your shoulders like we normally would. Now this is a little bit of a, think of it as an all fours plank pulse, but with a focus on the shoulders. So we're going to adjust the shoulders to a slightly different position that we normally would. So coming back to what we did right at the start, we're going to round your upper back and let your shoulders roll forward a little or come forward, protraction of the shoulder blades. Hold that there. We're going to tuck your toes under at the back and then carefully lift your knees just a few inches and come back down again. And we're going to do 6 or 8 of those. Now try not to do them too quickly. You want to hold for a second at the top there before you come back to the floor. You want to control that movement up and down. So it's not a jump up and a collapse down, it's control. And the whole time you've maintained that shoulder position. We've protracted those shoulder blades, so we're engaging the muscles a little bit differently around the back of the shoulder blades and through the shoulder joints. Maybe one more. And coming back to the floor, again have a little sit back, give those shoulders a roll back. Very good. And then we're going to repeat a few of those things. So come back with your blocks. So bring them back onto the floor, underneath your hands again. Comfortable width apart. Now that might be shoulder width, might be slightly wider. Knees under your hips, and then just creep the knees back a little bit further, and then softly let your bottom come back to your heels, let your head rest between your arms, and gently back up over your wrists. Keep that going. So hopefully now you can start to feel that your shoulders are starting to loosen, starting to warm up a little. One or two more. And in. Relaxing. We're going to push the blocks out of the way. Hands come in underneath your wrists again. We're going to take your right hand, slide it forward. Let your bottom come back to towards your heels and back up to where you started. Keep going. Just some nice, careful stretching and sliding through that right arm. One or two more. Then changing hands, left hand slides forward, bottom back towards your heels. Now that hand doesn't have to go in a perfectly straight line out in front. If it comes slightly out to the side in a bit more of a kind of a Y-shaped angle, that's absolutely okay. You need to do that in a way that's right for your shoulder. One more. And relax. And then have a sit back. Again, give those shoulders a little bit of a relax. Then we're going to come back and do that all fours plank pose again. This time we're not going to pulse up and down. We're going to lift the knees a few inches and just hold it there. So come forward again onto all fours, knees under the hips, wrists under your shoulders. If your wrists are starting to feel this, you know you can come up onto your fists instead for this one. So I'll do it that way so you can see. Now we're going to get that protraction happening through the shoulder blades. So you let your upper back right between your shoulder blades push upwards, and the shoulder blades actually move away from each other. They rotate outwards on the backs of your ribs there. Then we take the toes under, hold that shoulder position, knees lift. We're just going to hold for a few breaths here. So try not to hold your breath. Keep the breath coming in and out as you need it. Focus on the shoulders. And then softly back to the floor. Have a sit back off your arms there. Give the shoulders a little wiggle. Very good. All right, now we're going to do a little bit, just a slight variation on our thread the needle stretch that we do reasonably often. This is a little bit more focus on weight bearing through an upright arm rather than getting a shoulder stretch at the same time. So come forward onto all fours again, and I'll come this way so that you can see what's happening. We want to start again, knees under your hips, wrists under your shoulders. Then you're going to take your left hand and bring that onto the floor just behind your right wrist. So the hand comes across and rests on the floor. So the fingers will probably be pointing out to the side, but again, make that comfortable. Then, very carefully, take your right arm out wide to the side, then gently rotate your rib cage up to the ceiling, and then rotate back, right hand comes back to the floor. And we're just repeating that careful movement. So right arm out wide from the shoulder, you turn the rib cage towards the ceiling, rotate back down, and do another 6 or 8 of those, nice and carefully. You can keep your breathing relaxed as you're doing that. Again, this is different things happening with each shoulder here. Another 1 or 2. And then gently relax, come back to square again. So this time it's your right hand that comes across and rests just behind your left wrist on the floor. So you're going to wait there with that right arm. Carefully take the left arm out wide, turn the rib cage up to the ceiling, come back down, hand to the floor. Repeating. Again, another 6 or 8, taking your time. Don't over stretch or don't force that movement. It doesn't have to be vertical when that arm comes up towards the ceiling. You want to work, again, just within that comfortable range that where your shoulder is happy. Maybe 1 more. And relax. Again, have a little sit back, give those shoulders a little bit of a loosen off. Very good. Okay, we're going to come back and rest on the blocks again. So come over onto all fours, and this time we're going to stack up your blocks. So you're a little bit higher off the floor, and you're going to bring your right hand onto the top of the blocks, knees nice and comfortable, and left arm just hanging loosely. So that's why we've got that height under that right arm, so that your left arm can dangle down towards the floor, but your back is nice and comfortable. Now it doesn't matter how that right hand's resting on the blocks, you can have it turned to the side or the front or on your fist, however that is most comfortable. Very simple movement to start with. We're going to take that left arm where it's dangling softly and just bring it out wide to the side and just above horizontal. Then slowly control that movement back to the floor. When it gets there, let it relax. Again, control the movement out wide and just above horizontal. Control it down. When it's there, let it relax. And again, another 6 or 8, like that. Just careful, controlled movements, and a complete relax in between each one. Very good. When you're doing this, just feel that it's the shoulder and shoulder blade that is driving the movement or controlling that movement. It's not the arm, it's your shoulder blade. So as that arm comes up to horizontal and then goes slightly beyond, you'll feel that squeeze at your shoulder blade. Let it come down. One or two more. Let it relax. And then have a sit back off that left arm. Give that a little bit of a wriggle for a minute just so you get a break. If you start to get tired with bracing on that left arm, or right arm, sorry, you can rest it down on the block. It just means your arm won't be completely clear of the floor. We're going to do a slight variation of that. So again, your weight bearing through the right arm on top of your little stack of blocks or books there. This time we're going to bring your left arm back towards your hip, and again, just up and beyond that. Slowly down. Keep that going. And again, when you come just slightly above or slightly beyond horizontal with that arm, feel that what's happening at your shoulder blade. Feel that little squeeze of the muscles around the bottom of your left shoulder blade there. And just know that it's the shoulder that's performing the action. It's not your arm. The arm's being carried along for the ride. It's the shoulder doing the work. One or two more. Let that arm dangle. We'll move straight into the next one. This is a little bit more challenging. So you start with that left arm dangling. This time we're going to bring it up into a fist beside your temple. So the elbow and arm lift and then gently lower back down. You bring it up, squeeze your fist to your temple and down. Very good. So if you were doing this with both arms together, you'd almost be making a bit of a W shape as your fists come up and squeeze towards your temple. It's a little bit more challenging, this one, because we're asking the shoulder not just to abduct, but we're asking a little bit of a rotation to happen through that upper arm bone at the same time. And relax, come carefully off that other arm, give that right shoulder a relax. And the whole time we've been weight bearing on that other shoulder as well, so giving that a little bit of work to do too. So we'll swap around, change arms. So this time the blocks are underneath your left hand, right arm is just dangling down nice and loosely. Now your back and neck want to stay nice and comfortable with this. So we'll start that first one, just bringing the arm out wide from the shoulder, a little bit higher than horizontal, controlling the movement down, let it relax once it gets there. Keep that going. So none of these movements are particularly complicated. They're not really difficult exercises for the shoulder, but they do challenge the range of motion, they challenge the stamina, and they challenge the functionality of your shoulder joint. So some you might find quite easy, and others you might be surprised to find that they look easy, but they're a little bit more difficult. And that will vary shoulder to shoulder. Even one side of your own shoulder to the other might feel quite different. Then let that relax. Have a sit back, come off that left arm, just give that a little bit of a rest. And then we'll come forward and do the two other movements. So come forward onto those blocks again. Remember, the importance is comfort through your back and your neck. That right arm's dangling loosely. This time you bring it back towards your hip and then a little bit higher. Control the movement back down, let it relax. Keep repeating that. And it doesn't really matter which way your palm is facing as you're doing that. Some of you will find it quite natural to have your palm facing up towards the ceiling. Others, you might have your palm facing towards you. Either way is fine. Again, just find that position of comfort for your shoulder. Another one or two. And then we'll start that last movement. So from that relaxed position, you're going to bring the arm up, bend the elbow, squeeze your fist towards your temple, let the arm come down, and repeating that. So you're bringing that elbow up nice and high. And when you're doing that, don't twist and rotate through your spine or your back. The rest of your body's nice and still. We're focusing just on the action through that right shoulder. Feel the shoulder blade squeeze. Remember, it's an action of the shoulder and the shoulder blade, not just an action of your arm. One or two more. And then relax again, have a sit back, come off that arm, and a little loosen up of the shoulders. Right, we're going to come back with one hand on top of each block again, or each little stack of books. Like we did before, we're just repeating that same movement. So knees are hip width apart, but you've crept them back slightly. Then take your bottom back towards your heels, let your head rest down softly, and then come back up over your hands. Shoulders stop above your wrists there. Keep that going. One or two more again. And then relaxing, giving those shoulders a little bit of a wriggle around. Then we're going to come down and lay on your side. So pop the blocks out of the way. You want to lay down on your side, knees bent, so you're nice and comfortable, and head again in a comfortable position. So you might want to just rest that on your opposite arm. Then we start with that top arm out in front. We're bringing it just up to vertical and down again. Keep that happening. Beautiful. Just a few of those. These last few movements we're doing are going to be nice and gentle. No more weight bearing. And then let that arm just relax down along your waist, along your hip, and then bring it from there up to vertical, down to the hip again. Again, not a really tricky movement for most people, but the shoulders are starting to get a little bit tired now. We've done a bit of weight bearing, we've done a lot of moving the shoulders in lots of different directions. Then relax, and then pop over onto your other side and do exactly the same. So set yourself up, be nice and comfortable, head in a position of comfort on that bottom arm there if you can. We start with the top arm out in front, bring it just up to vertical, so don't go beyond, don't roll through the chest, just to vertical and down again. So the rest of your body stay nice and stable, nice and steady. You're not rolling around on the floor. It's all about the shoulder. Another few of those. down to your hip and up to vertical from there. Again, straightforward movements. Just go up to vertical. You don't have to go beyond and right over your ear. We're looking for ease of movement here. And then relax and just gently bring yourself back up to kneeling if you can. So we're just going to do a little bit of rotational movement through the upper arm bones, through the shoulders here. And then one more nice soft little stretch and then we're done. So just from where you are, bring your hands out in front or pointing forward out in front. Tuck the elbows in just gently. Don't squeeze that really tight, just have it gently in. And then rotate your hands out to the side and back to the front. And just keep that going. That's nice and carefully. So try not to open the elbows out away from your waist as you're doing that. Elbows are staying tucked into the waist but not forcing them in. You're just keeping them in place. And again, you might find that that's quite comfortable with your palms facing each other and then ending up facing out forward. You might prefer to do that with the palms facing downward towards the floor. You can try a few like that just to see how that feels through the shoulders. And you might like to try it with the palms facing upwards, see if that has an effect on the range of movement you've got there with this external rotation movement that we're doing. And relax. And then take both arms out in front and then bring them up to a bit of a scarecrow position. Back out to front again. Few like that. When you're doing that, try not to push your chest forward, push your tummy forward. Just keep your body steady and stable. Just a movement through the arms and shoulders. Again, don't worry too much about where the hands are facing. And relax. One more movement here. And this is, again, nice and gentle for the shoulders. Just be kneeling, and if you want to, you can kneel upright instead of sitting back on the heels. Hands resting down beside your hips there. We're just going to carefully take the hands back behind you and let them come down. And keep that going. And when you're doing that, you don't need to lift your shoulders and round them and roll them forward. You're not bending forward through your spine. It's just a movement as far as that wants to happen through your shoulder joints. This is a shoulder extension. Now on this last one, just hold it there. And relax, and then give those shoulders a nice big rock or roll around, a little bit of a loosen off, and we are done. Hopefully that's given the shoulders something to think about. Might feel a little bit tired at first, but hopefully for the rest of the day they'll feel really good, and when you wake up tomorrow they'll feel even better. So thank you very much. Keep going with your lockdown, hang in there, we'll all be fine, we'll get there eventually, and I shall see you hopefully sometime soon back in the yoga studio. Thank you, see you later.